So welcome back to a new Game Stuff episode, and there's quite a few things to talk about here, and a couple of mini reviews in here as well, but some really cool things to talk about today. And I'm going to start with the first item that I pre-ordered. It must be around 4 or 5 months ago now. Okay, I have to go back to the past for a second here, to when I was 21 years old, and I got my very first Neo Geo home console, and I got it out of the buy and sell. There was a magazine that was out back then. This is before the internet, before Craigslist. It was just a magazine, and you'd flip through it, and the people would put like ads in of things they were selling. So somebody was selling a Neo Geo for like $250 with this game here, Art of Fighting 2. So it realistically is my very first Neo Geo game that I owned. And I used to play the hell out of this game. It was very difficult. The difficulty spike was quite high in the game. But the one thing that I really enjoyed was the music. And I also enjoyed the arranged music. I bought that on CD years later. So that brings us to this first item. I'm here. I want to give you a bit of a setup why I like this item so much. Something else with it, which is just off the hook. We'll get there. So I went to Fan Gamer, and they had Art of Fighting 2, the vinyl record soundtrack. And I was so thrilled to get that. I was like, oh, this is great. I get to have the music on vinyl. But this is not the full story. The music is good, but it's this particular item that it comes with that makes it extra good. And I didn't know if I'd be able to pick it up or not, if it would sell out. I just went to the website and I bought it. And they had a limited edition of around 150 copies only, signed by the producer and designer of the original SNK for the original Neo Geo. These two guys here. And the thing about them is they worked on all of the old Neo Geo games like Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting and Metal Slug and all those original old games, which I love, and I think a lot of you love as well. So the first 150 people who got the limited edition got this signed document here by both of the creators, both of the designers, I should say. And what's amazing is, look up here. It's number 1 of 150. When I got that, I'm like, okay, well, no, I didn't think it'd be numbered or if it would even matter. I've never gotten a number 1 ever. And I was like, oh my God, I got number 1 out of 150. I'm like, this is like amazing. And this means a lot to me. I'm a big old school Neo Geo fan. And to have 2 signatures from 2 of the original designers, over there working on the games at the time is legendary. Never mind getting the vinyl soundtrack. I tell you, it's amazing getting older and getting some of these items. Like when I was younger, playing the Neo Geo in the arcade, I would never have imagined I would get a signature with anybody who worked on, Mark of the Wolves or on Fatal Fury back then. And I know the games are older games now, but they have a certain place in my heart. And just to have that as a collectible means a lot to me. I was like, whoa. So I got that about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and I really wanted to show that off today, and I'm glad I did. It blows my mind. Number 1 out of 150. How I got that is I really went to that website fast. Really, really fast. Okay, we're getting to another Japanese style of game and old school arcade games at that. Now, do you remember here on the Nintendo Switch, they released the Capcom collection of older Capcom games from their arcade days, their golden days. And I looked at these games and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta have this. Because that, like Final Fight, Captain Commando, King of the Dragons, the great classics. But then I was like, I heard about something else that was coming out in Japan only. And that was that all of the games were getting a physical release right here. Belt Action Collection by Capcom. And I'll just flip that around so you can see this right here. This was amazing. And I got something else to get into here. These are amazing old arcade games that now there's a physical copy. I got it from Play Asia for anybody who is interested. Here's where I get into a mini review of something that I was going to do an episode on, but I honestly don't think people would watch an anime review. And granted, I can understand that. You know, I try to stay away from a lot of anime content because it is a video game related show. This is called New Game Stuff episode, but this is about video games. So the review I want to do was a Netflix show called High Score Girl. Now, a lot of you out there had written to me on Twitter and said, you got to check out this show. It's really up your alley. It's about the old 90s and playing video games in arcades in Japan. And it's not that I doubted anybody, but sometimes you're like, am I really going to like this and all this? And I really want to do a review on this. In retrospect, I should have. But I'm going to kind of do it now. This show is on Netflix. And I went in and I'm like, okay, it's just going to be some anime, some kids playing some video games. Yes, it is. But it has such heart that I recommend for any of you guys who watch my show, who like old school arcade games in any regard, from the late 80s, early 90s, you have to watch this show. You have to watch it. I even said to Rob, I said, just watch the first 5 minutes of it, and you'll know if it's for you. That's all you got to do, but it's 5 minutes. I watched the first 5 minutes, and I could not believe it. And me and my wife sat and watched every episode. It took us about 3 nights to watch them all. And there was some nights, I'm not joking, I had a small tear nearly. I was like, this show is about this guy, and he's he comes entangled into like some love interests, but that's not what's important in it. What is important to me is the representation of all the old 90s, late 80s, early 90s arcade games, home consoles in Japan. I cannot believe the love letter to that time period. And that's why I was having such a small tear. Like, even in the opening, they use the game footage from the games in the anime. So it's not like you don't see it or they're just kind of talking about it. Like, the first episode is Street Fighter. All Street Fighter. Street Fighter's all the way through, because for anybody who grew up back then, who lived in that time, it was all about Street Fighter in the arcades. It really was, all the different variations that came out over the years. And just watch the first episode. It's all about Street Fighter. And it's not just that they're playing Street Fighter. The people who made the show really love video games, really love this time period, and really know the games. They talk about techniques in Street Fighter that I haven't even thought about in a long time. I was like, oh my god, they really love these old games. And just to see all the old PC Engine games back then, and which was the TurboGrafx out here, and the Super Famicom stuff. I mean, you gotta see, High Score Girl. You gotta see it. Just watch the first 5 minutes, and if it's a show for you, it's a show for you. So I guess here's my story. I had bought this, and I had it up in the shelf, and I'm like, oh, I'll talk about a New Game Stuff episode. But I finished, it was one night during Christmas time. I had a bit of time off, and I had a couple of drinks, and we watched High Score Girl, and I was like, oh, my wife goes to bed, and I was welled up with emotion of 90s video gaming in arcades again. And I walked in here, and I just sat and looked at the Neo Geo games. I was just like, oh my god, there's memories. It's, like, as I say, all these games here really do mean something to me. They're here for a reason. And sometimes I have a drink and I walk in and I just appreciate certain games and moments in my life. And then I was like, hey, because they were just playing like Final Fight in the anime. And I'm like, oh my, I gotta get this out and play Final Fight. So I got my Nintendo Switch, I sat in here, and I had a glass of gin and soda, and I played Final Fight, and I was like, I goddamn love this period of video games in my life. I'm so happy that I grew up in that time, the way arcades were and the way video games were. I just love the sprites of it all, and man, it's such a wonderful time I think back to. But sorry, I went off, but I really wanted to talk about all that stuff, and I was gonna do it in a review, but I just didn't think everybody would be like, "What's High Score Girl?" And nobody watch or care, and I'm very conscious of what I put up on the channel, and so I thought I'd save that for here. But anyways, this is a great collection of old arcade games. Highly recommend getting it this way. It's really, really nice. Really, really nice. I get very nostalgic for a certain game as well. And this is a limited run release. And I didn't even know it was going to be released by them or anything like that. And I went onto their website and I'm like, oh my God, there's a physical copy? I got to get this because I bought the downloadable copy on the PS4 and me and my wife would play it. And there's a classic scene of me and Kim playing it where she freaks out and she scares me so much I freak out. And you know what? I'll just let it play.
Oh.
I'm just expecting this fucking rat to come out somewhere. It's gonna jump and scare us, because
why not?
this, yeah.
That
louder. Sound is like, yeah.
We were looking for it.
The pre-cum of the rat about to hit us.
Hey, go stand in front of the fireplace.
Feeling a little cold?
The room probably changed.
Oh, get out!
Don't do that! You jumped at me!
Don't do
it! You jumped at me!
Don't do it!
What the fuck?
What was that thing? Still love that clip to death. We had so much fun playing it, and I know this sounds funny, but I already have a little bit of a nostalgia for the game, and it's only maybe about 2.5 years old, and that is Layers of Fear. Layers of Fear, that's what I was just showing there. This is a great horror game, kind of going through a house and just jump scares all the time, and it works really, really well. Maybe it's not for everybody, but it was for me because I don't really play this type of game. And so this was from limited run. I had to get it. The only thing that upsets me, the disc is loose. I hate that because I want to keep it sealed as a collectible. But this is the Masterpiece Edition. A really great game. Just download the game if you can't. I don't know if it's available on limited run because obviously from limited run games they're limited, release games. But download it. I'd say that I think you can get this for really cheap. If you want a fun game, you're always kind of going through the game. You're not really backtracking per se, and it's just jump scare after jump scare. So fantastic. So anyways, it was a bit of limited run games month for me. And I saw another set of games that I was like, what is this? What is this? And it harkened back to my NES days, and that is the 8-bit adventure. Let me do that again. The 8-bit adventure anthology. There we go. Volume 1. And we got some really great classics here. We got Shadowgate, Uninvited, and Deja Vu. I played all of the NES versions. I played Shadowgate mainly, but I was just like, they're releasing these older style games on the PS4 in a physical version. I must admit, I don't go for all these, every single limited run game at all. Not at all. But I was like, God, you're pulling the heartstrings on me. I love Shadowgate, and Uninvited was a very interesting game, and Deja Vu, and I was like, having them all on a physical copy on PS4, count me in. Now, I'm getting very, very excited about hearing more about Luigi's Mansion 3, because I'm a huge Luigi's Mansion fan, and I'm going to talk about the GameCube in a future episode, and I'm going to get a little bit more into why I love Luigi's Mansion so much. But I had to get this. I was in like a Walmart, and I was looking up, and I'm like, John, just get it. Just get it. And I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, just get it. Just goddamn get it. And that is Luigi's Mansion on 3DS. I had to pick this up. As I say, I'll go into a huge episode of why I love Luigi's Mansion so much, but I'm a huge fan of that game. Huge fan of it. When it was first released on the GameCube, it was such an interesting, fresh idea with Luigi exploring this haunted mansion. And a lot of people at the time were saying, oh, this is a really weird idea. What? This is a launch game? I honestly could play this game every Halloween and be so thrilled with it. And I have every version that's being released, and I had to have this version here, even though it is on the 3DS, and it's one of the last few 3DS games I think we'll get. The 3DS is not completely dead, but I would say it's on the way out a little bit. Okay. This game, I got a code for this game, and Xseed sent me this out, and I got to thank them for this, and that is Senran Kagura Blast Renewal. This game right here. And I'm like, am I gonna like this game? Like, really? Yeah? I'm like, it's gonna be one of those budget titles. And in a sense, the way it absolutely is. It is. But I was playing it a little bit ago with my wife. I said, oh, I'm going to try this new game. And she's like, oh, okay. Like, you know, let's see what it's all about. And realistically, it's real fan service type of thing where you pick a girl and you can pick, you know, any way she looks in the game, and, you know, her hair and her outfit and underwear changes. I mean, it is so much fan service there. And then you go, and it's kind of a brawler game where you take on wave after wave of enemies, and it's so funny. Any of the female characters that you take on, you're whacking them with your sword, you're doing combo attacks, and you're blasting off their clothes. I can't make this stuff up. So the thing that I'll say about this game, the one thing I will say about it, it is so funny. Me and my wife were laughing, going, this is ridiculous. I'm running around in this like bikini schoolgirl outfit, bashing the hell out of all these girl characters, making their clothes fall off. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life? And I'm like, I like this. This is what's so funny. I like this. It's really entertaining. So I think for anybody out there, check out a trailer on it and see if it's your type of thing. I don't know. I know this type of game is not for everybody. And it kind of surprised me. It just kind of showed up one day, and I was like, oh, well, thanks, XE. That's really cool. And obviously, I'm definitely going to play it and give it a bit of time. Totally an entertaining game. That is for sure. We're not done yet by a mile shot. This is something that I want to show because I want to, support, smaller projects and people who have a big heart that are trying to do great things in the video gaming community. And I think this is really something else here. I think it's really something else. And this is by Mega Visions here. And right here, I'm going to show this. I gotta thank my friend Chris for sending these over to me and his team. They're a team that all work together to make basically a Sega magazine. Yeah, all Sega related stuff from the good old days of video gaming. This is wonderful stuff. And they did a Kickstarter to launch this. And yeah, they sent me physical copies of it. And I was looking through it and I'm like, this is really great stuff, and I applaud such passion because, obviously we don't get physical magazines anymore of Sega products, not in the same way we used to. And look at this, I love this kinds of stuff right here, covering like Might and Magic 2 and all the old like cool old RPGs and action games and elemental gimmick gear there. Really nice stuff, and they've done a really good job of like trying to keep it looking retro, which I really, really like. And so yeah, I said, I don't have to do anything, but I said, guys, I'm gonna show this on my show because I think this is absolutely awesome and highlighting all the great old games here. And I love it. I love the old artwork. I guess what it is I'm a big old school Sega fan. I really am. And I want Sega to be as strong as they used to be. And I think they're doing quite well. But I love the attention to detail and the love for creating a magazine like this for fans, made by fans. So I'll plug them. I'll put a link down below where you can find this if you're interested in supporting them. Absolutely, because I am absolutely here to support them as well. Okay, now one from the big guys. This arrived from Bandai Namco. This is big and crazy. This is the Jump Force Special Edition here. This is absolutely a gigantic box. And I'm going to show it all to you right here. It comes with some art. We got some Son Goku here. We got Naruto going on. Look at this. Really nice looking stuff here. And the game itself, and I gotta say, I haven't played the game yet. I only opened this up this morning. And here's the game. I'm interested in it. I'm gonna talk about the reasons why right now. I'm gonna come out of the closet and say something here that I've never said on the show. I've almost been worried to, honestly, is that I am a big old school and can you believe it's kind of old schoolish now? Naruto fan. I am a Naruto fan. And I remember I got into it, and there's a lot of filler episodes, and it got better and all that, but I absolutely love Naruto. And I like all the old Shonen Jump comics. And so this kind of project that brings all of these characters together, with Saint Seiya characters, with Dragon Quest characters, with characters from City Hunter, in a fighting game, I'm really excited about this game. And here's something else absolutely ridiculous that comes with it. Here is the model kind of classic figurines going on. We got One Piece going on, Naruto, Son Goku happening there. Very nice looking stuff, and this is going to be a bit of a centerpiece for me. And yeah, I really like the idea of Jump Force and all of the different characters. I know a lot of people were disappointed that there wasn't more characters. For me, I'm like, oh my god, there's so many characters. I mean, I can't learn all those characters in a short amount of time anyways. So I'm going to get into the game, I'm going to start playing it, but I got to show you guys this, because I was hoping I could get the game out a bit earlier so I could review it, but I never got a chance to. But here's the thing, where I'm coming out of the closet, I have a Kakashi cosplay, and this was going to be the thumbnail for the review that I wasn't able to do in time, but I did make the thumbnail, and I thought that was so funny. Yes, I don't cosplay any character, but back in the day, I had that character's cosplay, and I'd go to conventions, and it was really a lot of fun. Really a lot of fun. It's the only time I've ever cosplayed in my life. That one character is the coolest character in Naruto. Hands down. Such a great character. So there, I'm out of the closet. I'm a Nartard. I've admitted it. I can handle it. Okay, we're near the end here. Just a couple of, a bit of anime to go through, and a book that is absolutely legendary. But the anime is something that Kim got me for my birthday. And this is amazing for all old school anime fans out there. This is the Mobile Police Patlabor box set. I'm going to try to make that a little bit shinier there so you can see it. This is the complete Patlabor TV series, OVAs, and all 3 movies. In high definition. You heard that right, in one package together. And I really enjoy these days collecting the old shows that I grew up with, that I used to watch on Beta and VHS. They used to be all fuzzy and not look good. Where to watch them in a nice pristine way, I've been saving this. I can't wait. I'm so happy I can talk about it, because as soon as I talk about it, that means I can watch it. I put it onto my to-watch list, and I always watch this stuff, and I can't wait to watch the movies again. Supposedly the best way to watch it is, because I've only seen some of the OVAs, I haven't seen all of them, is the later OVAs into the movies. That's more of its own story, where the TV show is its own thing at times. So the OVAs into the movies are a little bit more serious. This is kind of like a police drama with kind of mecha. Back in the 80s, it was all mecha shows. There was a lot of that. You don't see a lot of shows like this anymore. And I love the designs. I love the character designs. And I love, obviously, the Patlabor itself. It's so awesome. With its riot shotgun and its gun and its leg that comes out. Great old school stuff. I'm a huge fan of that. I got very nostalgic as well about when I was 21 years old. I came back from England, and I kind of really got back into anime again. And all of a sudden, at that time, it was perfect timing. I went to my local anime store, run by the King of Smut 95, William Chow, and he had the Laserdisc, and he'd just done the translation of it, and that was for Street Fighter the movie. Now, I have this on VHS, I have it on Laserdisc, and I have it on, I think, DVD as well, but I had to get the Blu-ray, and I'm like, Kim, we gotta watch this. This is something that we have to watch. There's a lot of anime that has done, video games before and kind of missed the boat a little bit at times, where this nailed it. This really captured what Street Fighter 2 was all about. And it's great animation, great soundtrack. Obviously, for me, I listen to it, with subtitles and the Japanese voice, obviously. But the end Japanese song of this, for the credits is such a great song. Even me and William Chow were talking about this recently, how great of a song it was. And really, if you've never seen Street Fighter, the movie, the motion picture, check it out. It's really, really good. And speaking of really good, another old school anime that I had to pick up, and I've been kind of putting it off because it's a little bit up there in price, a little bit higher than I think it should be. And at Christmas time, I recommended as one of my games of the year was Fist of the North Star: Lost Paradise by Sega. I think it's a wonderful game, and it all comes from the manga and the movie and the TV series. And I never had a copy of the movie. And I'm like, it was on my Amazon wish list, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I should do it. No, it's too expensive. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Maybe I won't. And then I was just like, God damn it. I've got to get this and watch this again. It is such a high classic in my mind. And it's really bloody. It's really intense. If you want to know what Fist of the North Star is, just watch this movie. Post-apocalyptic, Mad Max society, blood and guts, people's heads exploding. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. And another thing that Kim picked up for me, this was from Christmas, and I didn't put it in my last New Game Stuff episode, and that is Doctor Who, the Peter Davison years, season 1 for him. And I've watched every special feature on here. There's a really nice sit-down interview with him that's like an hour long. I really enjoyed that during Christmas time. I had a lot of fun watching that. And what do I have to say about the Peter Davison years? He came after Tom Baker. I think that's the big problem is Tom Baker's my favorite Doctor Who of all time. So coming after Tom Baker, it's really difficult to no matter who it would be, they got a tough road. And I think it was a tough road for Peter Davison. I really did enjoy him as the Doctor. I thought he was really, really good. But Tom Baker stole the show, and it was really tough to accept a new Doctor. And it's almost like he couldn't even accept the role. And he even talks about that, saying it was a very tough role for him to take on, and it took a long time to really get it for him. But when he got it. I thought he was consistent all the way through. I think he's been a little hard on himself. But for fans' expectations of the next Doctor, it was difficult. But I'm very nostalgic about this time. I remember watching all of this in 1982, 83? Very, very, very nostalgic. So gotta thank my wife again for picking me that up. And now somebody who I have to not thank is my friend JKB Jason Hooft. He is a great friend of mine. I'm being funny, but he was bugging me. He goes, "Do you have the Breath of the Wild Artbook?" And I'm like, no, dude, I can't be buying any more books and stuff like that. I got enough. I got enough art books. He's like, dude, he goes, you have to get this book. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, trust me. He goes, when you see it, he goes, you'll be super happy. I'm like, fine. So I ordered it off Amazon. And here it is. It's heavy. It's very heavy to hold up. Here it is, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Creating a Champion. And it arrived, and I'm like, okay, I'll have a look through it. I'll have a little look through it. And I'm like, God damn it. Breath of the Wild. Here's a little bit of a debate. I said that Breath of the Wild is my favorite video game of all time. It is. Without a doubt. Without a doubt in my mind. And people were saying during my Phantasy Star video where I was talking about that recently, where I replayed Phantasy Star again, on the Nintendo Switch and finished it. And I said it's one of my favorites. It is my favorite game of all time. And people are like, I thought Breath of the Wild was your favorite game of all time. Where, honestly, Phantasy Star is my nostalgic one. It always will be my favorite game of all time. But overall, for what it is, I mean, look at this goddamn game. Look at the artwork in here. Look at all of the effort that they put in. And I'm just going to show you guys. Look at all of this stuff. All of the artwork. It is incredible. I don't want to recognize. We get that version of the Link, which is awesome and funny. Yeah. This is such a remarkable game. Look, just for the arts alone. And it's so funny when you start looking through a book like this, you forget how incredible the game is from behind the scenes, sitting down, designing it sort of way. You forget that all of the artwork that had to be created before the game was even made. We take it for granted. I do. You just start playing a game and go, this looks really good and all this. You forget that so many artists, look at it, like great example, so many artists sat around just painting all day to create a certain look for the graphics. And they did a stellar job on Breath of the Wild. It impresses me so. Look at the motorcycle. Look at the motorcycle. I really appreciate art, especially as I say, as a lot of you will know from my background of being an artist and all that. So I love art books, and one of my favorite things to do in summertime is to sit outside with a cup of coffee, have an art book, and just go all the way through it and just study it. That's one of my most favorite things to do. So anyways, this episode has been going on for a little bit of time, and I think I'll put an end to it right now. Hopefully you guys saw some things that were interesting. There's a lot of amazing things here. That is for sure. So anyways, guys, until next time.